Okay, now we have Stephanie Williams' website. And this is an interesting one because if you look at this, not too long from now, the words will have changed because she is evolving her business. And that is so common for my clients. We start out with our best hypothesis about what we think will work for a new coaching business. And then she goes out and tries it and sees what happens and sees what works for her, sees what works for her clients. And then she moves into the direction that makes the most sense. And that's how everybody's business should work. So this was our best hypothesis for when she started. Brand spanking new. And her website design team does the most beautiful work. I was so just overjoyed to see the words land in such a lovely way. So Stephanie helps overwhelmed, overworked, high achieving, that that woman who tends to just pile way too much on her plate. She helps them to slow down and simplify so they can actually savor and enjoy their lives. So that is what her entire brand is about. And that is not actually going to change. Just how she does it is going to change. So if we look at the entire experience of this is very slow. Like, look how slow the waves are in this very simple video. I really like how that works. It puts you into a more relaxed space immediately. And then we get to the actual words, and it's very cozy. It's very welcoming. So, welcome, I'm Steph. Let's slow down together. And we immediately went into a vision. I like to start a page out with a little bit of storytelling. And for this one, it was like, oh, let's try to remember a time when every minute wasn't quite so structured. So we started with remember those childhood summers when you could forget the day of the week because nothing was scheduled. You had to figure out what you wanted to do, play outside, read a book, walk to a friend's house. You had the time and space to dream, imagine, be. So we dive right into what some pages written by other people might put in the imagine if. They might start with like, imagine if you could do all these things. And instead, we're flipping that on its head to remember a time when. And maybe these people have always had extremely structured lives. And maybe this never existed for them, but we're still giving them a taste of what that might feel like. And it's so spacious. And then, of course, we have to contrast it because we can't just stay in the beautiful land of benefits. We have to talk about the challenges. So, this homepage is actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting of a sales page. And I like blending the purposes because so much more storytelling tends to happen on a sales page than most home pages. And I think that storytelling is really important for engaging our audiences. So we do a little bit more storytelling. What does your life look like now? Very different. Your freedom faded as you turned into a high functioning adult with productivity apps, a constantly dinging phone, and so many responsibilities between work, family obligations, and keeping your living space livable. Ugh, laundry. Your old hobbies, passions, and sense of play have fallen off your ever expanding priorities list. And then there's this promise because I never leave anyone in the depths of despair. I want to acknowledge where they are. And if they are in the depths, we're going to acknowledge the depths. But we do not leave them there. We don't want to punch the bruise. We don't want to make them feel worse about their situation. We always want to end this with hope. And then there's this beneath it all, there's still you. And you're pretty amazing. So that's how this flow goes. And then there's this beautiful empathy section. I know what it's like too. And then we have these symptoms. The symptoms list can be such a valuable tool for relating to your audience and making them feel seen and heard. And then a little bit of the solution and a free gift, which I really love. And then the welcome, like, "Hi, I'm Steph. Here's what I do. Read my story." And she has a really fantastic story. So, one of the things that I like to do is get ahead of any potential friction. And when we're talking about slowing down, especially to, high octane, high achieving, high powered kind of person, there's a little bit of fear that can creep in. Like, ooh, if I slow down, I'm going to miss something. And sometimes it's, "Oh, I would have to, like, quit everything just to slow down," right? So there are these friction points that I try to predict and then speak to in the copy, so they don't get too far, they don't shut down the conversation. Instead, it's a chance to expand the conversation. So here we have slow living doesn't mean you have to quit your job, move to a tiny home in the bush, and raise chickens. It can include that. Those are options. You don't have to. And that's really important because we wanna emphasize that you don't have to quit your job, move to the country to slow down. You can do it right now. Then we have our learn more about working together, an invitation to connect. We have our testimonials, and that's the end of the page. So we did the whole website, and you'll see her beautiful about page. Oh, with the about page, it's really a vision of what slow living can look like. That's where we begin because she is her own ever after story. And you can do this if you have also come out the other side of the struggle that your clients currently have. It's a really good technique. Let me tell you about my life right now. When I'm not snuggling with my cats in bed, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise with my partner, scrunching my toes in the sand of the nearest beach, or watering my houseplants, I have more plants than furniture. I guide overscheduled and overwhelmed millennial women to make more space for themselves and what they truly want. So, this is a gorgeous snapshot of what a slow morning might look like. I love locating things like where is the action happening? What time of day is it? That's the kind of storytelling I like to do. I like to paint a little picture. And then we go into it's kind of a similar structure to the homepage. What was her life like before she found her answer, before she figured out the way which works? And it was the opposite of that. I love this picture of her cat. So we have the symptoms list. She might have been taking a walk outside, but her head was down answering texts the whole time. She was worrying about work while having lunch with her friend, feeling too tired and overwhelmed to think past her to do list, numbing through consuming, shopping, drinking, eating, scrolling, right? All of these things that we do when our circuits are overheated, overwhelmed. So it's really using her story to mirror her client's story. This is another technique I use on sales pages so often when that is true. So you can actually read her full story on another page because this story is really for that mirroring effect. And that's a technique when you've got a long story and it's a really good one, like it's a story that is well worth telling. It might serve you to have a shorter version on your about page, and then for the people who really wanna know, you have a button that leads to the full enchilada. It's an option, and it's not an option that most people talk about. I found it to be really useful. So many of my clients have amazing stories, and if we tried to cram it all onto the about page, it would be overwhelming. So this is very much client-centered, client-focused. What do they wanna do? Why is she the one to help them do it? And then you can see her full story is over here, and it's a really good one. Highly recommend. We did a lot of trimming to get it to be this short, but I love that she uses that technique. Okay, she has a beliefs page. This is super cool, not something that everybody has, but this is like, here are the things that are super important to me, and this is kind of where we need to be aligned to make sure that we're a fit. So it's almost a covert fit check, but it's very much, here's where my foundations are. And it's short and sweet. Okay, then we get to offerings and we have a drop down menu. So instead of a services page, she gets away with a drop down menu because she only has these three. And she has a little description like this is a deep one to one, this is a mini one, this is a mini in person one. And you can kind of figure out what you want to go towards. I still think this would benefit from a services page or at least some kind of directory that says, this is perfect for you if you have this kind of problem and this kind of solution is what you want. Go here. That's how I like to work that. But this is a very clean design, and that is the designer's prerogative. And then we have our newsletter invitation, which is beautiful. Sometimes you'll find this crammed into the homepage, but sometimes it makes sense to give it its own landing page. And her newsletter is gorgeous. So this is very cozy. The structure is, why do you want this in your inbox when it's overflowing already? You don't have enough time. Are you honestly asking me to read one more thing? Why should I? That's always what I'm thinking when I'm writing the invitation to a newsletter. And the answer had better be good. And this one is really good. Okay, that is Steph Williams' beautiful website as it stands now, because next month it's probably going to change.